So you mentioned this latest album. It's called As I Cast Ruin Upon the Lens That Reveals My Every Flaw. And it was released on May 13th of 2022 through Translation Lost Records. Can you tell me a little bit about how this album started and when you started working on it?
This album started as we were finishing the last album. A couple of the songs actually had already been written. There was a little bit of work that was done to them to kind of fix them up where they needed to be.
Did you go into this album specifically wanting to do anything different from your previous albums? You mentioned
Sure.
some of the feelings on this album were a little bit more angry than what you had done previously.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as the songwriting goes for this stuff, there was more intention of being angry. It was kind of a dark, heavy period in some of our lives, especially mine at that time. Adam and I were working together at a screen printing shop in town. So our lives were together via work. I was helping out with his label and band stuff, and then I had my own personal things going on too. So the songwriting definitely took on that vibe of all the things that were going on at the time. I did have intentions to move away from a looser song structure as a previous album kind of had and move into a more traditional song structure with repeating parts and stuff, which is not something that we've done a whole lot, but kind of wanted to explore adding, I guess, a little bit more of a pop element into things as much as that can really be said. It was definitely a conscious effort this time to expand on that stuff.
Yeah, that was my first impression when listening to this album, that this is a much more song oriented album. How much of that was a result of playing more shows and performing live more than you had done during the earlier incarnation of the band?
I think playing live, it did help a little bit of that. I wanted there to be a little bit more familiarity with the songs, as far as like people being like, oh yeah, this is what's coming up, like this is what's going on here. I think that part of it too was just time to move on from what we were doing. That's why there's more singing on the album too than there had been in, well, any of the other albums really. I was at a point of like, hey, we're playing more shows. Throat kind of hurts. Maybe I should do a little bit of singing, bring a different element to the band, making, I don't know, it was just time to change things. Kind of move on from, you know, there's a lot less black metal influence on this album. I think it's still there to an extent, but it just helped. It was just time to move on.
Now, was that a difficult transition to move away from the screaming to more clean vocals?
I mean, it was a little bit of a process just because I had never really sang before. That was something I've been working on for a while, trying to figure out how that all works. But I think in the end, it made sense, for especially for the first track. Like, I don't I don't think it would have given off the right vibe if I wouldn't have done any singing on that, versus like if I would have just been screaming. I don't think that it would have conveyed the change between the first half and the second half of the song.
This is the first album with Caleb on guitar, right?
Yeah, yep.
Can you tell me a little bit about how he joined the band and how you know him or knew him previous to the band?
So our old guitar player Pat had to move on in his life, and kind of leave the band between albums. And we met Caleb through my buddy Matt, who I used to be in a couple bands with years ago, Cock ESP and Sauce Party, some noise stuff that I used to do. And he was actually just a coworker of my friend Matt's, and gave him a try. Dude knows how to play guitar really well. He knows how to bring it. And we needed someone to kind of change up the sound a little bit, bring a little bit more focus to everything. Caleb helped help shape the sound too, more so on this album. Between him and Scott Evans, recording the album at Electrical, kind of got more of a larger sound and a little less gritty, but still impactful sound. And yeah, Caleb's a good guy. Really like having him in the band.